Alrighty, everyone. This is meteorologist Timmy Albertson here with you guys for a quick little tropical update. This is mainly going to be about Hurricane Lee. Hurricane Lee is out in the open waters right now, but it has ran into at least a little bit of some drier air, which has kind of gotten pulled into the system, and that's why the northern half of it is a little bit missing. It's also going to be running into some more wind shear and some cooler water temperatures as it tries to make its way up towards the north over the next few days. So that is going to gradually weaken Lee here as it does move northward. So right now, it is a Category 2 hurricane with 105-mile-an-hour winds. It is expected to maybe approach land somewhere between eastern Maine and Nova Scotia by the time we get towards probably Saturday afternoon or Saturday evening. However, by that point, it likely will not have 105-mile-an-hour winds. It'll probably barely be a hurricane with winds maybe around 75 or 80 miles an hour. With that in mind, the main thing to keep in mind here with hurricanes, especially this one, is that as it weakens, its wind field does expand a little bit. There's some reasons. We talked a little bit about that during one of our weather chats earlier on, but the wind field is expanding a little bit, even though the winds themselves are decreasing. And that is something that we typically tend to see with these hurricanes when they do begin to undergo weakening. So because of that, even though the center is going to be staying well off to the west of Bermuda, well, the tropical storm force winds are probably going to at least scrape by Bermuda as we go into tomorrow night and into Friday morning. So that's why there's a tropical storm warning for the island of Bermuda. Tropical storm watches are in effect for parts of the New England coastline from Rhode Island going all the way up to southern Maine. And then we have a hurricane watch that is actually in effect for the eastern coast of Maine. Now, again, when it does make its way towards land, it is not going to be as strong as it is now, but it will still be packing at least some pretty decent winds with it. And there'll be things like storm surge that will have to be taken into account, as well as, the fact that it'll be dealing with some windy conditions. But keep in mind, folks, that when you see that cone there, that is not where the hurricane conditions are going to be. That's just where the center of the tropical system is expected to be. Obviously, in this case right now with Lee, we see those hurricane force winds extend very far out from the center, even though they're not quite as strong as they were a few days ago. But again, you get the idea there that, even if the center doesn't pass over a particular area, if it's close enough, it could get into some of those effects. So really the area that we're kind of zeroing in on here with Lee making landfall, as mentioned, is going to be somewhere probably on the extreme eastern part of the New England coastline or going into the Canadian Maritimes. The Canadian Hurricane Center is also watching this too. And as we go forward the next couple of days, we'll take a look at some of their forecasts and what they're expecting. It's still a little too early to go into detail of places like what, up along the Maine coast could be seeing forecast wise. But keep in mind, folks, this is an area, this part of New England going up to the Canadian Maritimes, listen, they get whacked by these type of storms quite a bit. And they're not always hurricanes. Sometimes they're just regular old winter storms. So, 60, 70 mile an hour wind gusts along the coast in some of these places is not unusual, especially as you get into the fall and winter months. So again, this is a hurricane, or could very well be at least a hurricane when it does reach there. Like I said, it's going to be right on the border of either a strong tropical storm or a weak hurricane when it does arrive there. But you get the idea. Still going to be bringing some heavy rains there. So we'll keep an eye on Hurricane Lee as it begins to work its way up towards the extreme east coast there, or northern east coast, I guess, if you wanted to call it that, the northern east coast, northeast coast, whatever. You get the idea. So we'll keep you guys updated. Probably as we go into tomorrow, we'll start having a better idea forecast-wise as to what exactly the conditions are going to be in some of these spots. There's quite a few buoys out around these areas too, so we'll probably at least get some good pictures from that as it does move through. After landfall, Lee will weaken even more so. It'll transition from a tropical system to a non-tropical system, and then it'll work its way over towards Newfoundland and Labrador, and then back out into the open waters where it won't be returning to at least our area forecast, the Atlantic, West Atlantic. You get the idea. All right, everyone, that's a quick little tropical update for you guys. We'll have another weather chat as we go into tomorrow evening, and we'll keep an eye on Lee here, and we'll probably talk more about what Lee could be bringing condition-wise as we do tomorrow's weather chat, so make sure you tune in tomorrow evening for that. If you have any questions, you can always feel free to reach out and ask those, and I'll be more than happy to answer those for you guys. So with that in mind, I hope you all have a good rest of your evening, and it looks like we're going to have an interesting weekend with Hurricane Lee making its way towards land. Have fun, everyone.